Hello, my name is Jiso and I'm reading Master Dōgen Shōbōgenzō, and we are on chapter 76. Dai-Shugyo, great practice. Dai means great and Shugyo means practice, so Dai-Shugyo means great practice. There is a famous Chinese story about Master Hyakujō Ikkai and a wild fox. The story concerns the relation between Buddhist practice and the law of cause and effect. This relationship is explained in two ways and totally at odds with the other, each totally at odds with the other. The first explanation says that someone of great practice does not fall into cause and effect. In other words, it denies the influence of cause and effect upon someone of great practice. The other explanation says, do not be unclear about cause and effect. In other words, it affirms the influence of cause and effect upon someone of great practice. But Master Dōgen considered the difference between these two explanations to be only a matter of intellectual thought, and that the situation in reality had no such dichotomy. He explained that someone of great practice transcends both the negation and the affirmation of the law of cause and effect by acting here and now in the real world. When Zen Master Daiichi of Hyakujō Zen Mountain in Koshu, successor of Baso, called Ikkai in his lifetime, gives informal instruction, an old man is generally present. He always listens to the Dharma along with the monks, and when the assembly retires, the old man also retires. Then, unexpectedly, one day, he does not leave. The master eventually asks him, "What person is this standing before me?" The old man answers, "I'm not a person. In the past age of Kasyapa Buddha, I used to live as master on this mountain. Once a practitioner asked me, 'Do even people in the state of great practice fall into cause and effect or not?' I answered, 'They do not fall into cause and effect.' Since then I have fallen into the body of a wild fox for 500 lives. Now I beg you, Master, to say for me a word of transformation. I long to be rid of the body of a wild fox." Then he asks, "Do even people in the state of great practice fall into cause and effect or not?" The master says, "Do not be unclear about cause and effect." At these words, the old man immediately realizes the great realization. He does prostrations and says, "I am already rid of the body of a wild fox and would like to remain on the mountain behind this temple. Dare I ask the master to perform for me a monk's funeral ceremony?" The master orders the supervising monk to strike the block and to tell the assembly, "After the meal we will see off a deceased monk." All the monks discuss this amongst themselves, saying, "The whole community is at ease and there is no sick person in the Nirvana hall. What is the reason for this?" After the meal, the master is seen leading the monks to the foot of a rock on the mountain behind the temple and picking out a dead fox with a stick. They cremate it according to the formal method. In the evening, the master gives preaching in the Dharma hall and discusses the preceding episode. Obaku then asks, "The man in the past gave a mistaken answer as a word of transformation and fell into the body of a wild fox for 500 lives. If he had not made any mistake at that moment, what would he have become?" The master says, "Step up here, I will tell you." Obaku finally steps up and gives the master a slap. The master claps his hands and laughs and says, "You've just expressed that a foreigner's red beard is red, but it is also a fact that a red beard is a foreigner." This koan, realized just now, is great practice itself. As the old man says, Hyakujō Mountain in Koshu exists in the past age of Kasyapa Buddha, and Hyakujō Mountain in Koshu exists in the present age of Shakyamuni Buddha. This is a real word of transformation. Even so, the Hyōkujo mountain of the past age of Kasyapa Buddha and the Hyōkujo mountain of the present age of Shakyamuni Buddha are not one. Neither are they different. They are not 3 and 3 before, and not 3 and 3 after. Suggest, for example, the differences in the mountain in different seasons: white in winter, green in spring, blue in summer, yellow in red and autumn. The real Hyōkujo mountain here and now is beyond any accumulation of past impressions. The Hyōkujo mountain of the past has not become the Hyōkujo mountain of the present. The present Hyōkujo mountain was not formerly the Hyōkujo mountain of Kasyapa Buddha's time. Even so, there is the old man's pronouncement that I used to live on this mountain. The old man's teaching for the practitioner is akin to the teaching of the present Hyōkujo for the old man, and the question which once a practitioner asked is akin to the question that the old man asks now. When doing one thing, it is impossible to do another. If we neglect the first move, we will be floored at the second. The practitioner of the past asks, do even people in the state of great practice on the Hyōkujo mountain of the past fall into cause and effect or not? This question should certainly not be understood easily or in haste. The reason I say so is that for the first time since the Buddha Dharma spread east during the latter Han era of Eihei, and since the ancestral master came from the west during the Liang era of Futsu, due to the words of the old wild fox, we hear the question of the practitioner of the past. It had never existed previously, so we can say that it is rarely heard. When we have groped for and grasped great practice, it is just great cause and effect itself. Because this cause and effect is always the round fulfillment of causes and the complete fulfillment of effects, it has never accommodated discussion of falling or not falling, and has never accommodated words of being unclear or not being unclear. If they do not fall into cause and effect is a mistake, do not be unclear about cause and effect might also be a mistake. Even when mistakes are put in their place as mistakes, there is falling into the body of a wild fox, and there is getting free of the body of a wild fox. There is also a principle whereby they do not fall into cause and effect, though a mistake in the age of Kasyapa Buddha is not a mistake in the age of Shakyamuni Buddha. Though in the present age of Shakyamuni Buddha do not be unclear about cause and effect gets rid of the body of a wild fox, in the age of Kasyapa Buddha a different principle may be realized. In the old man's words, since then I have fallen into the body of a wild fox for 500 lives, what is this falling into the body of a wild fox? It is not that a wild fox which existed already lures in the former Hyōkujo, and it is impossible for the former Hyōkujo originally to be a wild fox. The assertion that the soul of the former Hyōkujo leaves him and forces itself into the skin of a wild fox is non-Buddhism, and a wild fox cannot come up and suddenly swallow the former Hyōkujo. If we say that the former Hyōkujo subsequently changes into a wild fox, he must first get rid of the body of the former Hyōkujo, so that he may then fall into the body of a wild fox. A master of Hyōkujo mountain can never be replaced by the body of a wild fox. How could cause and effect be like that? Cause and effect is neither inherent nor initiated. Footnotes. Inherent, originally existing. Not initiated, just says shikaku. That doesn't help me much. Cause and effect never idly waits for a person. Even if the response, they do not fall into cause and effect, is wrong, the respondent may not always fall into the body of a wild fox. If falling into the body of a wild fox were the inevitable karmic result of mistakenly answering a practitioner's question, then the Rinzais and Tokuzans of recent times, together with their followers, will have fallen into how many thousands and tens of thousands of wild foxes. Aside from them, The unreliable old veterans of the last 200 or 300 years would be countless wild foxes. Yet none are heard to have fallen into wild foxes, so many wild foxes would be more than enough to see and hear. You may say that they have not made such a mistake, but in fact they have been very many outlandish and confused answers, much worse than they do not fall into cause and effect. Those who cannot even be placed on the periphery of the Buddha Dharma are indeed many. We should know them with the eye of learning and practice. Unless equipped with the eye, we cannot tell them apart. In conclusion, we should never say that as a result of answering badly, a person becomes the body of a wild fox, or that as a result of answering well, a person does not become the body of a wild fox. This story does not say what the state is like after getting rid of the body of a wild fox, but presumably, wrapped in a bag of skin, there might be a pearl. Contrary to this view, people who have never seen and heard the Buddha Dharma say, when we have completely got free of a wild fox, we return to the essential ocean of original enlightenment. As a result of delusion, we fall into the life of a wild fox for a while, but when we realize the great enlightenment, we discard the body of a wild fox and return to the original essence. This is the non-Buddhist theory of returning to the original self. It is not the Buddha Dharma at all. If we say that a wild fox is not the original essence and that there is no original enlightenment in a wild fox, that is not the Buddha Dharma. If we say that when we realize the great enlightenment, we have departed from and discarded the body of a wild fox, then it would not be the wild fox's great enlightenment, and we would make the wild fox serve no purpose. We should never say so. The story says that by virtue of a word of transformation from the present Hyakujō, the wild fox which the past Hyakujō has been for 500 lives suddenly gets free of a wild fox. We should clarify this principle. If we assert that when a bystander speaks a word of transformation, a bystander frees from the body of a wild fox, then the mountains, the rivers, and the earth have been speaking countless words of transformation since the past, and those many words of transformation have been repeated again and again. But in the past, the old man has not got free of the body of a wild fox. He gets free of the body of a wild fox under a word of transformation from the present Hyakujō. This assertion casts deadly doubt upon the ancestor. And if we assert that the mountains, rivers, and the earth have never spoken words of transformation, then the present Hyakujō might ultimately lack the means to open his mouth. Furthermore, many past masters through the ages have vied to assert that the expressions not falling into and not being unclear about cause and effect are equally valid. But if they have never attained bodily experience of not falling into and not being unclear about cause and effect, within the stream of those very words, they consequently never experience the skin, flesh, bones, and marrow of falling into the body of a wild fox, nor experience the skin, flesh, bones, and marrow of getting rid of the body of a wild fox. If the head is not right, the tail is never right. In the old man's words, since then I have fallen into the body of a wild fox for 500 lives. Just what is the subject that falls, and just what is the object that is fallen into? In the very moment of falling into the body of a wild fox, what form and grades does the universe that has continued from the past have in the present? Why should the series of words "do not fall into cause and effect" result in 500 repetitions? As for the one pelt of skin that is now at the foot of a rock on the mountain behind the temple, from what concrete place should we think that it has been able to come? To say they do not fall into cause and effect is to fall into the body of a wild fox, and to hear do not be unclear about cause and effect is to get free of the body of a wild fox. Even though there are instances of falling in and getting free, they are just the cause and effect of the wild fox. Nevertheless, since ancient times people have said, because they do not fall into cause and effect is an expression which seems to refute cause and effect, the speaker falls down. This assertion is without reason. It is the assertion of people who are in the dark. Even if the former Hyakujo has occasion to say they do not fall into cause and effect, he has the state in which it is impossible for the great practice to delude others, and it is impossible for him to refute cause and effect. Alternatively, it is said, the meaning of do not be unclear about cause and effect, in other words, not being ignorant of cause and effect, is that because great practice is transcendent cause and effect itself, it gets rid of the body of a wild fox. Truly, this is 80 or 90% realization of the eyes of learning in practice. At the same time, in the time of Kasyapa Buddha, we have lived on this mountain. In the time of Shakyamuni Buddha, we are living on this mountain. Former body and present body, the faces of the sun and the faces of the moon, shut out the ghost of a wild fox and manifest the ghost of a wild fox. It's rather dense and difficult, this one, isn't it? But we will leave it there and return to the rest tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Do take care.